Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, Jim Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I talk about books and bookish things. I upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Central Time, with some extra videos sprinkled in here and there. I am an independent author, an avid reader, and a cat mom of 3, and today we are doing a non-fiction book, and that is The Dress Diary by Kate Strasdin. Let's get into it. So this book is 320 pages. It came out in 2023, and this one is kind of unique. Let's go with the description. A unique portrait of Victorian life, hidden figures, and empire told through one woman's textile scrapbook. In 1838, a young woman was given a diary on her wedding day, collecting snippets of fabric from a range of garments, some her own, others donated by family and friends. She carefully annotated each one, creating a unique record of their lives. Her name was Mrs. Anne Sykes. Now, nearly 200 years later, the diary fell into the hands of Kate Strasdin, a fashion historian and museum curator. Using her expertise, Strasdin spent the next 6 years unraveling the secrets contained within the album's pages. Her findings are remarkable. Piece by piece, she charts Anne's journey from the mills of Lancashire to the port of Singapore before tracing her return to England in later years. Fragments of cloth become windows into Victorian life, pirates in Borneo, the complicated etiquette of mourning, poisonous dyes, the British Empire in full swing, rioting for working conditions, and the terrible human cost of Britain's cotton industry. This is life writing that celebrates ordinary people, not just the grandees of traditional written histories, but hidden figures, the participants in everyday life. Through the evidence of waistcoats, ball gowns, mourning outfits, Strasdin lays bare the whole human experience in the most intimate of mediums, the clothes we choose to wear. So this book was kind of an impulse buy. I saw it, I was like, ooh, fashion history, this could be fascinating, and I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting just more of like a fashion history, but this book actually gives good context to this textiles and where they come from and the cultural significance and the influence of them and everything that went into making the textiles and the garments they would become. She did research on who the people were because they're annotated with a name of whose garment it was. It's not just a snippet of fabric, it's the snippet of fabric, the owner's name, and then like what the garment is. And my edition actually has pictures from the diary. So it's got, as you can see, these are the snippets of the fabric with some of the handwriting there. And a lot of times we think of Victorian fashion in terms of muted colors, browns, blacks, and this book proves that that's not true. Queen Victoria wore black because she stayed in a period of mourning after Prince Albert passed, but most Victorians wore colors, and they didn't just wear colors, they wore loud colors and bold prints and patterns, and it reminds us that people have always liked exciting textiles. There's a quote that from Laurel Thatcher Ulrich that well-behaved women seldom make history. And this is usually used to be like, oh, I'm going to misbehave because I won't make history if I'm well-behaved. That's not what the quote is actually meaning in its original context. It's that history forgets the people that weren't rebels. And I feel like this book is important because it gives context to the people that are forgotten by history, some of whom Kate Strasdin couldn't find a record of at all. She's like, this person obviously existed. We have a primary document saying they existed as a human being, but I can't find a record of their birth, a record of their christening, a record of their marriage, a record of their death. Nothing. This person does not exist in a historical context except within the confines of this journal. And I think that's fascinating. A journal like this is part of why journals are so important to historians and people who like history, is because we've lost so many things to time that in Victorian times, there was a little service of 3 little pots that was on every table. We know this because we have them. And we know one of them was salt, and one of them was pepper. But history has forgotten what the third thing was. There's well accepted theory that it's mustard, that's mustard powder. But we don't know that for sure because no one ever thought to write down what was in that third little pot on the table because everybody knew. And that's the thing. Everybody knows these things. And because everybody knows these things, nobody thinks to write them down. It's kind of like when you look at family recipes that you for certain cookie recipes, you have to bring the butter to room temperature. Well, if everybody knows you bring the butter to room temperature, why would I write down that you have to bring the butter to room temperature first? You should know this. And so when later generations go to make said cookies, they never turn out right because the butter's the wrong temperature when you start mixing the ingredients. And I love diaries. I love all of this intimate history, intimate personal history. And there's something voyeuristic about it, and not in a sexual way, but in a this was never meant to be seen and regarded by other people. This was meant for one person alone. And she probably never thought that there'd be an entire 320-page hardback book printed about her little diary keeping track of fabrics because she thought they were cool. That would be read by millions of people and would have a Storygraph rating of 4.03 stars out of 5. I recently switched from Goodreads to Storygraph for many reasons. This one is so interesting. And it's such a fantastic and interesting piece of history. And the author goes out of her way to give the context. That's not just, oh, this is a cotton dress owned by so-and-so at this time. Moving on. No. Like, it goes into, I think the first tab I have in here is the story of cotton is that of globalization. It was a raw material that could only be produced in certain parts of the world, but came to be in universal demand. During his travels to Asia in the 1320s, English traveler Sir John Mandeville described an unusual-looking tree. In India, he saw a wonderful tree which bore tiny limbs at the end of its branches. The balls of raw cotton fiber were unlike anything he or any of his acquaintances had ever encountered before. Like, it goes into hundreds of years before these textiles exist to talk about them and to give context to them. That it's not just names, dates, places. Like, that's what's in the diary, but the author went out of her way to research these things. And chapter 10 starts with, I can't find Fanny Taylor. I've searched every configuration of her name, Franny, Frances, Francesca, all to no avail. I have trawled through the census records and deciphered parish registers of births. I ran my finger along countless passenger manifestos and leafed through publications, published accounts of the Asiatic Journal of Monthly Register for British and Foreign India in the 1840s. Searches for Miss Fanny Taylor in the Singapore newspaper archive have been similarly fruitless. It is not that there are no Fanny Taylors to be found, but rather there are too many. There is an abundance of them, one of whom might be the lady I am seeking, but if she is there, then she passes by unnoticed, one of the many amongst her contemporaries. And even the people that she couldn't track down specifically, it's just a fascinating read. I give this one 4 or 5 stars because in places it is a little dry because she's spending so much time giving context that she forgets that I'm in it for the fashion history. Like, there are places where the book drags a little bit. It's not a perfect book by any means. It's not one that I'm going to be keeping, in part because I want other people to read this book because it was so fascinating. But 4 or 5 stars for a nonfiction book. I absolutely adored this one. Have you read The Dress Diary by Kate Strasdin? There are 2 versions of it out there. There's the version that I have, and then there's the version that, with a slightly different cover that actually features the textiles from the journal as part of the cover art. Have you read it? What did you think? Is this something that you would even be interested in? I love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.